So I want to say I've mentioned this in a previous Paint& Talk, that I'm currently reading Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace, the very, very large book about just a ton of joking going on. No, it's set in a tennis academy in a halfway house for addicts. Very interesting book. I'm not going to pretend I understand a single word of it, but what I think is so interesting about the book is maybe not so much the content inside, but the concept behind the book of how it's set up. Whereas most books are told in a linear fashion of, like, you know, Henry goes to the store, and then Henry picks up a soup can, and then Henry thinks about buying the soup can, and then Henry decides not to buy the soup can. This is set in a very different fashion where it's a fractal, right? So there's almost a little short excerpts going on that are scattered across with different characters. So instead of going like Henry goes to the store and buys a soup can and then goes home to his mom, it'll be Henry goes home to, or Henry goes to the store and buys a soup can, and then it'll switch to a whole other character, and it's like Bob is going and playing tennis right now, and then it goes back to Henry, and it's set up like that, right? So it's really interesting. And the way that David Foster Wallace explains it in interviews is basically that this is a way to get ideas across that could not be told linearly. And I thought that was so interesting because it's something that I think we can all relate to, like, a great deal, where it's like, you know, sometimes you got a thought that you want to get out, but it doesn't really work to function in like that linear style of like A to B to C. And I was watching an interview with him today, David Foster Wallace, not Henry nor Bob. I was watching an interview with him today where he was talking about the whole concept of being interviewed, right? Moving away from Infinite Jest for a second. He was talking about like how he feels about being interviewed as a whole. And one of the things he was saying that I thought was so good, that resonated with me especially, quite frankly, just because I think I do these Paint and Talk so much, but also is something I can relate to in my everyday life, was the idea that like anything that's a good question for an interview that he could answer in like a couple sentences for a nice soundbite is like gonna be kind of a dull question. Like, it's not gonna be a very interesting or insightful question. But he was like, then any question that's worth asking can't really be answered in this interview format. It'd probably be more accurately discussed with, like, you know, over a pot of coffee. Like, we'd have to have a conversation about it. It'd have to maybe last much longer than the soundbite of an interview or the couple seconds that is aimed for here. And I've talked a lot about how much I struggled with doing only like the very typical video essay style videos because of that very reason. Because it was like, sometimes I think it's more fun to kind of go 10 different directions on a topic and like contradict yourself a whole bunch, and then like, you know, maybe you didn't get anything near an answer, but you got a lot of new things to think about and maybe just like a better time than it is to go, okay, today we're gonna discuss blah blah blah, and then I have this conclusion, and here's my sources. You gotta go read them in the description. Like, I find that thing kind of boring, just because, like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that sort of stem off this idea of ideas not being super linear, especially ideas worth discussing. Like, one of them for me that I've been thinking about, I don't know why, I think I've just been particularly annoyed about it recently, been a bit more of a curmudgeon maybe lately than usual, is this whole thing where we have to have like discourse about everything now. And especially in the video essay genre, like, I genuinely do think I'm gonna totally, you know, hopefully not that many people watch this because I'm probably gonna end up going back on this someday, but as of right now, like, I never want to make a traditional video essay again, just because I think it's such a tired thing. I think they're really bad for conveying, like, interesting things. I think they're great for learning in, like, a very A to B sense. Like, I think they're great of, like, okay, I don't know anything about this subject, let me watch a video essay on it. Or I just watched this movie and I'm really excited about it. let me watch a video essay on what, like, the symbolism could be. Like, I think it's great for that stuff. But I think anything that's not... I think the video essay is really bad for actually getting interesting discussions across. Because of what I'm talking about, where it's like, it's not super... or it is super linear. Like, you cannot go into a video essay and tell a series of short stories that get across a point. Like, that's something I'm very interested in doing, of like seeing how you could kind of break and bend that genre to get something more interesting out of it. Because I think there's a lot of, I think this is the reason the genre annoys me so much, because on the one hand, it's so good for conveying information, and there's so much potential of like, these are essentially like things that can go super far in the algorithm, like much farther than something like this, a video essay can go, but at the same time, they're so bad for discussing stuff like this, you know what I mean? So I'd be really interested in how you could kind of break and bend that genre to maybe have a discussion that's more open and analyzing different perspectives. In a way, I think also one of the reasons, and this is just a personal hang-up, to be honest, that I find it so annoying, is because I feel like the space has turned very much... Like, when I started making video essays back in the early 2020s, it was very much like, this is just fun. Like, it's like, this is just a fun thing. You know, you kind of just take it for what it is and enjoy doing it. Now everybody's, like, citing sources and stuff like that, which is great. And, like, I don't know, I guess it's... I'm of two minds on the whole thing, where it's like... This is completely unrelated to the main topic here today, but it's kind of just side tangent. I'm of two minds on it, where on the one hand, I'm like, good, because, like, I guess it's better that people can verify their info, but at the same time, also, like, it's a YouTube video, you know, maybe even if you want to, like, go some more, like, I think one of the things that was always so fun about video essays is that you could do something absurd. You could make an absurd point and do it in a more serious format, and I think, like, that magic has kind of been lost because it's turned into a very serious thing now where people are citing their sources. And then there's just that part of me that's like, maybe this is a reductive thing to say. I guess this is a little out of character for me to say, even based on how I view art as a whole. But like, there's a part of me that can't help but be like, dude, like, this is a YouTube video. Like, we don't need to cite our sources. We don't need to act like this is something that needs to be, you know. We don't need to treat this like we're writing a paper. We can have some fun here, you know? So that's why I think it's kind of annoyed me, but trying to stay on track with the main topic that we're talking about here today, I think the reason I want to get away from them more than anything, or that I have gotten away from them, is because I think they're really terrible for telling thoughts that aren't 100% linear. Like, I think it's really hard to make something watchable. That's why podcasts are so good, and I think also, this is the most pretentious take I think I'll ever give on this show, I think that, like, consumers of content are actually kind of falling in line with this without knowing it. Of, like, I think people appreciate a conversation that's more natural and gonna just go in a million directions, and you can kind of almost trust the consumer to curate to themselves of what they want to take away from it. Because I think, like, when we're scrolling now, everything is just so absolutely streamed into your mind. Like, everything is a 60-second snippet telling a point that they came up with and distilled down. And sometimes that's great. It's also turning into something that's super necessary, especially if you want to get a message out there of, like, you know, whatever you want to do. And it's great for some things like that. Activism, a thing that comes to mind right away. Like, it's great that you can get a message out there in a soundbite like that. But I think also, since people are constantly just getting points streamed to their head, there's a desire of, like, okay, I want to maybe just sit down and think about something for a little while, and, you know, maybe I won't get a tight 5 on what I should think about this thing, but I'll actually be able to come away with my own thoughts, be of my own mind on this topic, and, like I was saying, like, self-curate what I want to take away from a conversation. And I think that's why video podcasting has been doing so well, because it's combining what people want of a person in front of a camera. I think people like that more than just listening, typically at least. But I think it's also allowing people to be of their own mind, rather than just like, I'm beaming this thought into your head, you need to listen to this thought I have. go read the sources I cited because it proves that this thought I have is right. I think people really want that. Like, I think people like just being like, no, like, I can kind of figure out what I think of this myself. Just let me do that. You know what I mean? Let me think for myself a little bit. And it doesn't need to be super polished. Doesn't need to be super clean. And I feel like I've said "and" a million times. One of the places I think we've also lost this a little bit is that, like, I don't think people feel there's space for them to be wrong anymore. Like, I don't know, maybe this is a byproduct of cancel culture. I think a lot of people would say that. I think it's probably more just like a byproduct of the internet as a whole. I don't really know. People are really scared of being wrong because I think they underestimate how much they could just be like, oh yeah, no, you're right, I was wrong about that. Like, I think people underestimate how easy that is. Maybe it's just natural that people don't really want to admit it. I see that in myself sometimes, you know. When I make a point, I hate to admit I'm wrong. Of course, we all do. But I also, I mean, you guys have seen me do it, where I've come here after a day of a Paint and Talk and gone like, okay, yesterday's was really bad, ignore that. Or, you know, like, I'll be in a comment being like, yeah, no, this comment totally just showed me that I did a terrible job on this. I think people underestimate how much you can do that. You know what I mean? I think people underestimate how much grace people will give you if you come out at the front and go like, yeah, no, like, this is going to be a little bit of just a random thing. That's one of the reasons I love doing this daily, because it allows for that in a way that everybody understands of, like, there's going to be 365 of these in a year around. Some of them are going to be really bad. Some of them are going to be more fun. Some of them are going to like a lot more than others. But, like, that's kind of the magic of it. That's, like, the same way that you maybe go to a diner with your friends every day, and some days your friends really hate being there, but other days it's a really great time. You know, I think that's kind of what's being replicated. I don't know. That was a terrible analogy, so ignore that. But, you know, it's great that we can have terrible analogies here. But sort of coming to the end of, like, why I was thinking about this and what I wanted to say about it, I think that opening a space to have more conversations that aren't linear is really great and really important. I think that's why talks have persisted as such a big thing over time. And one of the reason mainly that I think it's so important is because I think you can get more honest thought out that way. I think that going in a linear fashion, going, this is what I think, this is why you should agree, these are the counterpoints, I'm debunking those counterpoints, and now this proves that I'm right, and these are the implications of my conclusion. I think that's great, and I think that's really important when you have something to say, and it's really great to make something palatable. But I think that there's times where when you apply that formula to everything, like you're taught in school or in a lot of academic work, with, you know, sort of that they say, I say format, I think it gets to a point where it starts having a diminishing return on the amount of honesty you can get out in that. And we want to discover new things and have fun conversations to be more human, not less human. You know what I mean? This is the painting. I actually really like it. I really like the skeleton, and I like how it looks. I like the background contrasting with the red. Here's where I messed up. I don't think these eyes have the energy that I want them to. Like, I've done some of these where, like, I feel like I get, like, a feeling into these eyes that are really good. These, like, I don't know. It almost just looks like I painted Deadpool, and now I can't unsee that. I like this, though. I like this, I gotta say. I like the direction this series is going. I'm probably gonna try a couple more in this vein, where I'm using these colors, because I know, like, the red and the ochre and the black can kind of work well together. So I'm gonna try a couple more in this vein, but once I can get this down to be kind of a fun thing, I want to move away and maybe try something crazy, like a yellow skeleton with black eyes and a hot pink background. Like, I think going just in every crazy direction can be really fun with this. So yeah, I think, if I'm not wrong, tomorrow, or no, Monday, whenever, there's gonna be a reel up explaining all these, and a post on the Instagram with all this week's paintings. So go follow me on the Instagram to keep up with all that stuff. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 137. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.